So I want to just take a look at no code and how to approach problems with it. It's still very hard, I think, for developers to know how to go or move away from how they used to do things. But also for people new to building, it's intimidating. Now you have amazing tools like Make or Zapier that are maybe more user-friendly, maybe more usability and marketing around that to help them do that. But this, I just want to show how you can get almost everything done in no code. I'm almost 6 months into this very new way of working for me. And the amount of stuff I get done is just fascinating, leaving me more time to do YouTube videos, honestly. I have not slowed down work-wise, building things for customers, but I've been able to do more of this type of stuff because I get it done quicker and I can get more things done. And I can actually have people doing things for me in a way that is more consistent because we're not doing it all in code. The wins are just endless. So I really want to keep emphasizing that no code to me is key. I'm going to use N8N in this demo, but it could be active pieces. Where active pieces is falling short for me right now, other than me being used to N8N, is the agentic stuff. It has a better license, but I'm just not sure sometimes how much that matters for certain size projects, because if a business owner can save 30 to 50 grand a year in not paying me to code, and they pay 5 to 10 grand a year to use this tool, it's a win for them. Even long term, because business owners typically don't stop and say we're done. And even if you work for someone and help them get to their product being done, there's always that moment of ongoing support that they can save money. So my point is, it's a win in a lot of ways. So if you have an idea, or if you own a business, or if you have developers, just give it a chance. Now, this is going to be very intro, but hopefully we'll get you comfortable starting. You could just go to N8N.io, but if you go here, you could just sign up $20 a month and get going. You can do a lot, has a lot of little extra bells and whistles. You can just really get a lot done. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to just use my self-hosted version. Again, contact me if you want self-hosting. I can get you going. It's so easy to host. It's just, they did a great job. And we're going to just look at it. Now, the hardest thing about anything that we use for tools is looking at it again for the first time as if you're a new user. That's hard for any product. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to try to think about the ways I would see it if I've never seen this before, or I've had some questions in things with people when I've worked with them. So in this case, we're going to approach this from 3 different areas. One is what comes in, what triggers the workflow, how do you use it? Now, we're going to use it for an automation by the time we're done. And that automation is going to be to grab some data from a spreadsheet and make a daily report. So you're going to get to see everything in play, including AI tools. Now, I'll show the AI tools because they're really important, but this isn't just about AI. This is about practical day-to-day stuff that we build all the time as developers or used to that we don't need to. So just keep that in mind. The AI is just the extra weight behind this, because the stuff you can get done with AI and the AI you can get done in it is just fascinating. There's nothing stopping you from making true agents here. Agents being not a marketing term, but using AI to do a focused task at a certain moment, whether it's a scheduled task or a reaction to a new file or a reaction to an email. It's triggering that agent to do that work, and even keeping you in the loop where it could ask a question. So let's start with triggers, and then we'll work our way into this unlabeled area, the flows, we'll call them, because there's a whole bunch of things you can do here. And then finally, we'll just talk about outputs. What can you do with this data? So the triggers can be webhooks, API calls, scheduled tasks, manual stuff you do, folder updates, GitHub, emails. So it really goes on and on. And when you go here, you can focus on the trigger area. Now, if I do a manual trigger, it means I can just click this and run it. Now, there's not much that's going to happen right now. And if I do schedule trigger, because I can have more than one trigger. I can say every day go run this. The most common one for me is a webhook, because this is very key. And you'll see a bunch of other videos I have where I use this to then have Superbase trigger a workflow. So you have these ways of starting off to say, okay, when this particular action is triggered, I want something to happen. Now I'm going to remove these for a moment, because if I have 3 on the board, I have to choose which one. And actually, they did a good job now with this recent update where I can choose which one. That's neat. So actually I can leave them there because I can do this now. Before it was a little bit tricky. And so now we have this area we can trigger something. And we can go back here and see we have all these options, API. So instead of me building an API, I can use this. Instead of me building a webhook for Stripe or something, I can use this. I could even just do email. So this is probably the coolest one, is the email one for a lot of these triggers, because it can check that box and then be triggered. So in this case, I have it going to a assistant mailbox, and I could forward stuff there and have stuff come into here. So I could send it a recipe or a news article or an invoice and have it do things. So it's another really great way to trigger things. So in this case, we're just going to use the manual trigger for now, and that's just so we can more easily trigger it. So the next step is to do something with that data, now with that request. And the request could be anything. So if I had an email come in, it might have some information for me. If I had a webhook come in, it might have some information for me. For example, if I was to post here using anything, right? I could use Postman, and I could send something to that particular API. So I could say, here's the one I just pasted. I could send it some random data. So we'll just say raw JSON. Now Stripe might send you something, right? Stripe might send you a sale. Hub might send you a pull request. So all these different things might send you something. Now it's not registered, which just means I forgot to turn it on. Click save. Give it a moment. 1 moment. Oh, I got to remove this guy. Okay. It was not set up for auth. So there we go. We started our workflow. Now, one of the biggest wins in that moment is we have this execution history where we can see the workflow come in, the entry, the trigger. And so now not only do I have a sense of the trigger, but I have the data that came in from that trigger. And that is a big deal. I can't express enough as a developer who's now more of a no-code builder to have this type of state interactions, historical state interact. It can't be beat. And I've never seen it before with the technologies I was using at this level. So now not only do I have my webhook here, but I have a way to run it with that particular pin data, which is this purple. And so now I could save this data, as you can see here, and I could even edit it to add maybe some other stuff. So I could then say, next time I run this, I want to have some extra data there, but I don't have to keep going to Postman. So the pinning data is another big win. Now, what can I do here? I can do a lot, right? I could, in this case, I could go to that Google spreadsheet, right? I could say, hey, go to Google Sheets. And that is the big deal here. Look at, I have all these integrations to all these services. Let's see if I can get back to that one. So let's go to here. I'm going to click that. I don't want to do AI yet. Do something in an app or service, okay? So I could start doing things in all these services. I could go talk to Airtable. I could talk to NOCODE. I could talk to AWS. I could send a file. I could go get something from Calendly. So that's a big deal where I can just start doing all these different things here. And when it's not enough, you always have the community nodes. So here's Notion. But you also have what we call basically just HTTP. So you can just talk to any API you can imagine out there. And so in this case, I could say, go use an API to look up whatever you just sent me here, right? Example, foo. So I can continue on down a path. I could query my Superbase database, my Postgres database, right? So at this point, you could do anything with this data coming in. What we're going to do is actually connect this to the scheduler so that every day we get all this data out of our Google Sheet and send it to me as a Mattermost message or an email. So I could say get rows in a sheet. I could then pull in that particular sheet I've been using for an example, and I could put in the URL, which I've allowed the system to see. And then we can just go down the list, right? I could say, here's my leads. And so I'll start to name things because I like to name things so I know what they are. So I could say, there's my leads, right? Now, I could copy that. So you see how quickly it gets to iterate. I could say, here's my tasks, right? So now I'm going to say, give me my tasks. Maybe I want a list of all my unpaid invoices. So I could go here, and if I was tracking data in here, or my recipes for the week, whatever the silly thing is or the important thing is, right? I could get ad stats, right? So you start getting all this, you can do all these different things between here and there. So finally, when we're done, we can then do something with all that data. Try again. Let's see if this guy is just a momentary moment. So we get some data there. So now we have something here. What do we do with it? Now, in our industry of past, when I would write with code, we would do a lot of looping and if statements and stuff. For example, I could take all this data and loop over it. So here's 4 items here, and I could loop and iterate over each thing and maybe add something more to the spreadsheet or build up a particular report. So if I was to run this again, and I want to show you something once these are done, because this will be helpful as well. So those took seconds, and I don't want to do that every time. So once we hit this loop, I'm going to do something that is key. I don't want to keep waiting for these. I'm going to start pinning data. That just means I'm making it purple, and I'm letting it know that I don't want to hit that anymore. I want to just use what's there, which actually can save a lot of money. Now that has data pinned to it, and at any moment I can go in and edit that data. Now I'll save it. I didn't really do anything. So next time I run it, it's just instantaneous. So at this point, I have access to the data that is the first item in that loop. So that's where looping and those type of things become really important. In this particular case, when we have data coming in like a spreadsheet, I don't know how true this is, but what I'm going to do is this. I use this other tool, which comes in handy a lot. And I could just say, give me all that data, or I can concatenate it. But since I have no fields, let's see what happens if I do message, right? So I get a concatenated message, right, of leads. But in that case, because there's 2 rows out of there, I want to make sure to get them all. So I'm going to go aggregate all those fields, and maybe not all, because I don't want the row number, because I don't really care about that right now. So we'll say row number. So you can see me aggregate that data into one particular output. So now I have some data there that I can summarize here by just saying I want. And so you can drag things. You can do this, okay? And I want data. So now I took those 2 rows and made them one. So I have this concatenated data that represents my leads, okay? This gets a little tricky, but you start to see these repeatable patterns. Getting data, aggregating it so you can group it together if you need to, in leads. And I could do the same right here. So then you start to see the repetition aspects of this. So you just start cranking away on things. So again, I could just say all data. Now, I don't need the row number, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then I'll leave that guy up there, and I'll say, you know what, I want a new summary. And I'm going to just put that as concatenated, and we'll drag it over. So now we have our tasks. And actually, I'll leave the word summarize there. And then we could do the same for that. Now I'll leave this one out for just a moment. I'll leave it out just so I don't have to keep doing all that. Now, at this point, we did a loop. We didn't need it though. I could loop over 100 leads. Did we talk to them in a while? Let's send them an email. I could iterate over 100 tasks and see if any of them are due and then do something with them. A switch statement is really powerful. I'll show that in this video, I think. And the summary I just showed you, but we could have talked to a database, which a spreadsheet is, but I want to show what AI can do at this moment. So this is where we get into the AI part, which is not always required, but in this case, I'm going to tell the AI to do something, all right? I'm going to say, take all of this information, right? So I'm going to open up this, click this, and open up this. And I'm going to say, let's see, tasks, and drag it over, right? Leads. And of course, this is very much not high quality data. And then where are the other one? Tasks. Okay, I did 2. So at this point, I could do something I could never do in ChatGPT, is really bring in data automatically, dynamically from all these different places and do a good prompt. Now this is red. Sometimes it'll be red. I don't know why, if it even matters. But if I just put the word first there, it pops it into green. But I wouldn't do first here if I was in a loop, because you don't want the first one in a loop. You want the one you're on. It's a little tricky. Now, in this case, I've told it, here's my message, but it doesn't know what to do. This is basically at this moment chatting with a model, chatting with a ChatGPT, chatting with Claude. So in this case, I want to give it a system message that says, and again, you want it to go green. If it doesn't, your expression is not hit, and then you're not there. And I give it the date because in this case, it matters. In most cases, it does. So now we have our agents that's going to do that particular magic, right? Now I could use anything here I want. I'll use Grok because I think I have it set up and it's so fast. It would just make for a better video. But I show my other videos. I use my own local LLMs as well, and they're fine. So I don't even know who's good anymore. Let's try, wow, 70B, wow. Okay. So this guy doesn't have memory, but I could add memory. So it would know what it did last time, right? So in this case, I could just say define below some kind of key, and the key could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it could be a user ID that came in, right? Because maybe we got a user ID in this process. It could be the date and time, so you can kind of have something so it's relative to this message today. And we could start adding tools. Like I could just add a tool here, which is a big deal. I talk about this in so many videos because agents in AI components like this with tools removes a ton of work that you as a developer or builder have to do to make any particular point in your application do a lot or do anything. So I don't have to do if statements, if tasks, if leads, if this. I just give it all this data and let it decide. And I'm going to have the prompt. Again, it comes down to a good prompt. And I'm going to name that tool. I don't think I need to in this one, but I'm going to. And I could even give it a description, but this one has a pretty good one built in. So now when this runs, I want it to do something. So that's where we get to the output. And the output, the output could be, it could be an email. It could be a Slack message. It could be an API response back to what we just made. We'll hit that in a moment, actually. Human in the loop. It could be Monday.com. It could be Sheets. It could be anything. Almost anything. I want to push this into something. And we can see all the integrations once again. So just remember, all of these are here. That's really, really hard to beat as a developer. So I can't emphasize that enough, that you just can't build those integrations with code as quickly and easily and sustainably. Now, in this case, I'm just going to put this out to Mattermost. I'll just send myself a message. And I'm going to actually try to do this so that I can do a human in the loop eventually. Let's see. Post a message to, we'll do it there. Now, I don't want it to say hello, but I'm going to give it what it came out of the other one. Now, in the other one, I haven't ran it yet, so there's nothing there, okay? So that's why we're going to just hit this play button and let that run. Pinned, pin, so we save time. Being Grok is just going to be fast, but I never want to run that again as I work on this, right? So now that is pinned, and that has some data, and it ran through the tool to do something from the web, right? This isn't the best worry. This isn't the best search tool. This is where I would pull in Tavily or something more powerful like Firecrawl. I'm going to use this for a moment. And so now we have the data that we can just drag over, okay? And that is it. I could make it markdown. I could do other stuff, but that just sent me a message. One moment there. Let me go get it. I'm going to do another channel. One moment. All right. All right, so you can see here that the message comes in. Not a lot of data, but you get the point. So we quickly were able to automate something. And what I mean by automate is this would happen now every day, okay? We could even have it not happen on weekends. I think it's this one. Yeah, so we could just have it happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then be done. And as long as we save it, that's now going to send me an email or a Mattermost every day. I don't want it at midnight, so I can then just change it to 7 a.m. Now, what's important here too is if it doesn't work that next morning, I can come in here and see why did it not work. I could even go back in time and just copy this to the editor so I could see everything right when it triggered, so I can find out what went wrong. That is a big deal, and that is really hard to beat. We have this way to go out. We have this way to even have a human respond over here so it can continue on. We have this agent moment where it can decide what to do. I did another video before this where I show how we can add more and more tools to do different type of research, to just know what it's getting asked and make artifacts. So you can just start expounding on these tools to talk to other external workflows. MCP clients, in this case, I was using it with Explorium. So they have, and I think companies are going to do this more, but they have an MCP system there as well. I mean, look at these integrations. We could have a tool where it's talking to Postgres and doing a query. We can have a Supabase query. Airtable, where it could go get data for us. A Bubble data, I don't even know what that is, but a calculator is a good one because these guys aren't always good at math. So I could just throw that on there. ClickUp. So you can just see there's a ton of tools. Now, we could even push something into GitHub for us, right? So we can do stuff with GitHub. So you can see like the amount of things this AI agent could decide to do with the context you give it is it's just wide open at that point for you to just quickly build things without code. So again, hopefully this gives you a sense of how to approach this. Your triggers, your flows where you do stuff with the data, and then outputting it. Let's try one more thing here. I think this will work. Yeah, this guy. And then I'm going to tell this guy to wait until the last node finishes. And then it will do that. And I'm going to do, I think this will give me something. I'm going to just do this. One moment. So I'm just going to tell this, hey, at the end of this, go tell me something, right? So I want to say output is whatever came out of the LLM. So where are you, LLM? Let's go look. So this guy is here. Oh, I forgot to connect this. I must have just did that. And then we're just going to say, hey, thanks for the output, and we're going to throw it in here. So now when I go to that with this guy, it should wait, unless I mess something up, for the results. And there you go. So now we see it being used with our API. So really quickly, we're able to integrate with the system. An email could come in, I could build up a reply, I could use a tool to put a support ticket, I could use a tool to send it to the right department. So you can just see how this becomes a very agentic or non-AI driven pipeline to go from one thing to another. Person scans a file into a directory, person gives us a bunch of photos to turn into OCR documents, on and on. It's just crazy what you can do without code. I just want to cover that, kind of hopefully get over the intimidation of coming to a blank workflow and get you going. Now I had active pieces here because you get the same idea. The only thing I can't get active pieces to do is this part, which I find very frustrating because this is so awesome. And even though a percentage of my work doesn't use AI, when I need it, I really want the agentic flow because I can just build one thing and have it do a lot of things well. So that's why I'm still not 100% able to use active pieces for everything. But so I hope that helps you to get a sense of this no-code workflow and how to just jump in and get going on this. Give it a try, N8.io, or reach out to me for training and support and hosting. All right, thank you.